Welcome to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping Orange County. With your host, Don Camber.
Hello, live from the OC Talk Radio studios at UCI's Beal Applied Innovation Center. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Camber with more great guests positively impacting our community. Today, I welcome the Dayle McIntosh Center's lead home and community access coordinator, Ivan Cortez, and DMC's independent living skills instructor for the blind, Danyelle Cerrilo. Celebrating 48 years as OC's only independent living center, the mission of the Dayle McIntosh Center, also called DMC, is access and equity by and for people with disabilities and older adults. The organization was founded on advocacy for accessibility in 1977 and has been serving a growing population which is exceeding over 500,000 people with disabilities, veterans, older adults, and those impacted by long COVID. Thank you, Ivan and Danyelle, for being on Impact OC.
Thank you for having us.
Well, Ivan, I understand that DMC has revived its long-time historical partnership with OCTA to bring back the Mobility Management Professionals Program. Can you tell us a bit about the purpose of the program, the goals of the service training, and how the return of the MMPP program will create an impact meeting an individual's transportation needs?
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm very excited to having this program relaunch. The program goal is to teach people how to ride the public bus independently and safely here in Orange County, and we're trying to teach people, how to get from point A to point B, and especially targeting people with disabilities and seniors.
What kinds of disabilities are we talking about?
We're talking about multiple type of disabilities, intellectual disabilities, for example, people that have autism, people that even had like a car accident, hip replacement, and they're back in the community and trying to be back in the public bus.
So how does it work? They go to a center and you actually train them on how to access a bus?
So we have travel trainers that will meet them at their home, and we'll walk with our consumers to the bus stop. We'll teach them what the bus stop is about, and we'll teach them how to ride the public bus.
Danyelle, as an independent living skills instructor for the blind at DMC, I understand you personally rely on public transportation to get to work. Can you share how your experience as a public transportation user and how navigating the bus system has positively impacted your own independence, and share what it means introducing disability community newcomers to this independence option?
It is a really great experience to know that using public transportation, especially as a person with total blindness, is really freedom given and freedom driven. And what I mean by that is a lot of the time people can rely on other people to do things for them, especially when it comes to transportation, and knowing that there are options out there that a person who's visually impaired especially can do and take transportation. It takes a burden off of their shoulders in a sense, and it's really important because transportation itself and learning how to travel is a really important daily living skill to have. And with those skills in mind, you get an opportunity to learn about how to use skills like orientation and mobility, or traveling as a whole to get from point A to point B. And then you get a chance to learn about how to properly cross streets and various different things of that magnitude. And so it is really important to have those skills under your belt. And then for the newcomers, they don't know what options are available. And so as an instructor, I get a chance to tell them what I've experienced, whether it's through taking the train or a bus or paratransit in itself. I can show them and tell them what I know how to do. And maybe they're a little anxious at the time, and I can just give them that reassurance. It's okay to be anxious, but you can have those skills under your belt so that you can gain that independence. And so you don't always have to rely on other people to do things for you.
Now, you've been blind since birth.
Yes.
So, do you recall the first time that you took a bus by yourself?
The first time I took a bus by myself, let's think about this. I was actually 23. So this was back in 2014. I was on the bus on my way to a class of some sort. I was out of school, of course. I graduated from University of Arizona, and so I came back home to find a job. And so I took the bus to a job skills class, and it took forever. I was trying to figure out how to get from A to B. There was so much planning involved and everything, and when I finally got to my destination, it dawned on me, all right, you know what? I made it here, but now I have to figure out how to get back. And for me, the scary part is doing routes in reverse because I can do stuff going forward, but I struggle going backwards, if that makes any sense. You can do reverse, and that's completely difficult than doing stuff forward. So,
What's the
yeah.
planning that goes into planning a trip for you to take the bus?
It's a lot of phone calls, so I had to call and learn the number for the Orange County Transportation Authority to get information about what bus goes to what stop. Where back in those days, I had to use a note taker that had GPS capability to look up where I wanted to go, and it was a lot of research and a lot of assistive technology that you have to consider, and just that learning curve of, okay, it's not just let me walk outside and get on a random bus. Let me make sure that I'm on the right bus. And now they have the automated systems that speak to you and tell you exactly what bus is where. And so it's a lot of that sort of planning. And you do have to be able to utilize assistive technology that's constantly changing on a daily basis.
See, all you have with you is that stick.
Yep, you definitely just, for me, I just have the cane, and it's just me and the cane and the planning.
Were you scared?
I was nervous because here I am, and this doesn't just apply to the public bus. This can also apply to taking a paratransit system like Access. I was nervous because I don't know where I'm going. Maybe I'm going somewhere I've never been. And I just have to take into consideration, okay, I'm going to trust that I know that I'm going to get from where I want to be to my destination. It might take me a while, but I'll eventually get there.
Ivan, the program has just hired 2 brand new travel trainers. Can you share what they will be doing in their roles and specifically share what key skills they bring to the new program?
So we hired 2 travel trainers. They'll be teaching people how to do trip planning. I know Danyelle was mentioning about making phone calls, so we will be teaching them how to trip their own plan by using different tools. Would be, for example, Google Maps. Another app is called Move It, and simply by calling OCTA, they can also call that number to learn how to do trip planning. There's a person on the other side that will tell them exactly what time the bus comes and where to get on and where to get off.
Now, are there different types of skill sets for people with different types of disabilities?
Yes, so for example, for people that are low vision, we're not able to teach them unless they're able to cross the street independently, because we don't have that skills or that training education to do that. But we will, if they know how to cross the street independently, then we could definitely teach them how to ride the bus.
What about people with high functioning autism? That's a skill set.
Yeah, so we teach them how to be confident. We teach them that it's okay to ride the bus, and even if they get lost, it'll be okay. So we're there with them throughout the whole training.
How long does the training take?
It depends. Everybody learns at a different pace. They could take maybe 2 or 3 different trainings. So it really depends on that person and their disability.
Danielle, you went through the training. What was it like?
It was really really good. I've never experienced that type of training before. It was Ivan is right. You definitely do have to have the skill set for crossing streets. I will admit sometimes that can be a struggle for me, but I do fairly well with it. And to piggyback on what he said, it is true. You learn about different apps like the Move It app and various things like that, and it gives me a chance to utilize different pieces of software that I've never even considered. And I have to admit that the training was really beneficial, and it has actually helped me give other individuals with vision loss tips on, oh, have you ever considered this GPS app and things like that? Oh, I didn't even know that was out there. And how did you learn about it? And then I get a chance to share, oh, I learned this from the Mobility Management Professionals Program. And definitely worth experiencing if you have not experienced travel training before.
Now, you're not part of the MMPP service program directly, but can you, Danielle, elaborate how this program crosses over into what you do with as an independent living skills instructor?
Yes. Well, as I mentioned before, traveling is one of those things that we do every single day. And so, as far as when you are traveling, there are other skills that you have to learn how to do daily. Besides mobility and orientation, you also have to learn how to advocate for yourself, ask for directions from complete strangers, if even if you have to. You also have to learn how to properly plan whenever you're traveling. How do you stay organized while you're on the bus, or what can you do while you are taking the ride, and things like that. And so me as an instructor, I get a chance to provide the consumers with advocacy tips or ways that you can perform different things while you're on the bus. Like if you're wanting to listen to an audiobook, what's the proper protocol to do it so that you're not distracted trying to get to your next stop and things like that. So just those skills would be necessary. And then alongside, how do you eliminate that anxiety? What do I do if I've never traveled before by myself? What is a good workaround, and things like that. So those are the things that I would teach my consumers, especially if they're not familiar with how do you travel alone.
Would you say the majority of the people you teach actually succeed in using the bus?
Pretty much they do, because some of them don't use the bus. Some of them just need recommendations for ways to travel within their city. And so sometimes I can just research either Dayle rides, or if they really want to travel in the Orange County areas within the county, then I can introduce them to access services or ride share services. And again, if they're not familiar, it's my responsibility as the instructor to share my personal experience and how it's benefited me. And for the most part, people have been really successful.
Ivan, what are the demographics of the people you serve?
It's 18 and older. Many students that are in high school transitioning to college, but we're really trying to focus is to target seniors, older individuals as well.
Explain.
55 and older. We're trying to target those consumers. If they're not able to ride the public bus, we also have a transportation resource list that we can provide to them as an alternative as well.
And what kind of issues do they face that would require your help?
I think some of the issues would be, getting to the bus stops, depending on where they live. Some bus stops are a mile away. Some bus stops are a quarter of a mile. even if they use wheelchairs or power chairs, we're able to train them because all the buses OCT are actually accessible.
Because the DMC is basically teaching independent living skills. So this is part of the independent living skills training.
Exactly, exactly. So we're trying to teach them for them to be independent and for them to be successful, out and about in the community, not just be stuck at home.
How has the transportation issue evolved over the years for people in the DMC program?
I think it's been evolving good, especially with technology. I want to say, these apps now we're able to, our travel trainers are able to teach our consumers how to do trip planning, using different methods, and we're excited. We're excited to see, especially since relaunching the program, we're going to see how it's evolving.
Danyelle, what are the biggest fears people have to use the program?
I would say the number one would have to be they've just never experienced that experience of just traveling alone. I mean, there's so much out there, especially like Ivan said with the technology, that it's not even funny because there's a saying that you don't know unless you try. And so some people have never tried to travel alone or to do various things on their own. And once they have that opportunity, and once we provide them with that opportunity to try certain things on their own, it's like, wow, there's this new door that's just opened that I could have opened a long time ago, but I was hindered by the fear and things like not wanting to try. And so that would be the number one fear. The other thing would have to be simply not knowing what's out there and being afraid to ask what's out there.
Ivan, can you add to that?
Yeah, I have to agree with Danielle. I think it's fear of getting lost, especially you have never ridden the bus before. But once you try it, things become easier, and the public bus takes you, to the beach. It could take you to different places. So I think it's a matter of people trying it and seeing if they like it, and that's what we're here to build that confidence with them.
Do you have any interesting stories to share with us about people who have learned from you, Ivan?
Danielle, if you want to take on this one.
I'll give you some time to think about it. So I have a story of, this is a recent story. I introduced somebody to the Access paratransit system because they wanted to get around in their community outside of their city. And so they've never heard of Access services. And I was at their home and I was able to call the number. They were able to transfer us to eligibility. I was able to talk to whoever was on the line and have the consumer also provide their information and everything that they needed. And I remember they went for their eligibility interview just recently. And I called them to follow up. Hey, how was your interview? And things like that. Oh my gosh. Taking the transportation to and from the interview place, it was awesome. I didn't even know that there was such a service out there. It feels nice to not beg my loved one to take me from point A to point B, and it's so freeing. And how long does it take for me to get approved for this? I said, it's going to take you like 21 days to get approved, but when you do get approved, I'll tell you what to do after you get your approval. And I can't wait till I get approved. And it's just, I couldn't believe that this was out there. And just to hear the consumer's relief and that passion about, I can finally go places without begging my loved one to take me, it's just a relief. And so it's stories like that where it might seem a little small, but it's huge in the consumer's eyes.
Ivan?
Yeah, no, I was thinking right now, I had a consumer that wanted to learn how to get to the pharmacy or else, and I was able to help him get there, and he was so happy because he didn't have to ask his family members for a ride anymore, and it was so convenient because he lived literally maybe a quarter of a mile to the bus stop, and it was just a couple of stops away. So he didn't realize how close it was and how fast we got to the pharmacy to get his medication.
Danielle, what are some of the places people like to go with public transportation?
A lot of people they like to go all kinds of places. I mean, you got people. I work with older individuals who are blind, and I also started working with people 18 and older. But if I could name like the top three,
Go ahead.
they would be their community centers to just hang out with people in general. Number two would be places to run errands, like, the pharmacy, grocery store, bank. And then the third one would have to be places of worship or social recreational places like the movies and restaurants.
Ivan, how has the older adult aging population affected the need for public transportation?
I think this is a really good question. Buses for seats. So excuse me, buses. Because of the bus stop that's further away, um, it's easier for seniors to get around with their insurance because I know they provide transportation. Or some senior centers also provide transportation. I think there's still a big barrier for individuals that are maybe 30 or 40 years old that they don't have that benefit to get like a ride. So public bus or paratransit is a good resource for them to get, and they'll help them get to their doctor's appointment or to do their errands.
Do you have someone who shadows the individual so that they could successfully have a positive transportation experience?
Yeah, so our two hired travel trainers, they'll meet the consumer at their home and we'll walk with them to the bus stop. We'll teach them how to board and exit the bus. We'll talk about safety, and we'll go all the way to their destination. Some destinations are just required of one buses. Sometimes we have to transfer to two or three different buses. But the travel trainers will be with them throughout the training. And like I said, it depends on that individual how long it takes for them to be, for them to feel comfortable riding the bus. And that's when we feel good about ourselves because we're able to, they're able to learn how to get to wherever they want to go to now.
And Danielle, part of the learning is figuring out how to access the buses.
Exactly. And I don't know if this was mentioned previously, but a lot of the times when you're on the bus, there's still some things that you have to do as the person who's traveling. You have to pay attention to the automated system that's supposed to be on the buses, and they actually also have them on trains too, where it announces what bus stop you're coming to, and if they're not on, you have to pay attention to the app that you're supposed to be working with so that you know exactly that you are at your destination. And so it's more than just let me relax on the bus. There's other factors that you have to do in order to access the bus and to also access your destination as well.
What advice could you give people to get over their fear to be willing to learn to use public transportation?
I would say start traveling at first with a group of people, and that's how I started out. I started out by traveling with a group of blind individuals who were in the same position as I was, just learning how to travel on transportation as a whole. And then once you do it as a group, then you can slowly venture out, or in my case, just take a leap of faith and just go with it. If you have the confidence to travel with the group, and then you can manage it by yourself with some shadowing in the background from a loved one. That would be my number one piece of advice. And then the second thing would be practice asking for help, because it's needed, especially when you are traveling.
Ivan, what kinds of reactions have you gotten from people who've been through the program?
They're very, very happy, very grateful, I want to say too. Even the consumers, even the parents, since I help a lot of students, 18 and older, satisfying. They're always grateful for teaching them how to ride the bus.
Where do people go to get more information, Ivan?
So they can call our DMC main phone number at 714-621-3300.
And give me that number again, please.
714-621-3300.
Thank you, Dayle McIntosh Center, Ivan Cortez, and Danyelle Cerrilo for being on Impact OC. And I thank everyone for tuning in. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Camber. Have an impactful day.
You've been listening to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping our community. Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio.